let's talk about something called the production possibility frontier. Okay? So production, you guys understand, right? It's making something. Possibility, right? It's what are you able to do. And a frontier means a boundary, right? Sometimes we say a country's frontier, right? Like my country, Bangladesh's southern frontier is the sea, the Bay of Bengal, right? Korea, 3 sides of Korea, it's the sea, right? It's the Bay of Japan, it's all of these areas, right? It's the southern South China Seas, right? So the frontier is like the boundary, right? So this is something that can be shown in a graph. This is one of the very basic concepts of economics, and this builds off of what we learn. So let's say we're a company, right? And we have a choice. We can either make clothes, right? Or we can make shoes. These are our choices. 2 choices. Let's assume, so of course, you can have many, many choices, but just to simplify it, right? The curve is usually like this. Okay? So this is like 0 if you don't do anything, right? So over here, and this is like the number of workers. Let's say this is the number of workers, right, that we have. So let's say if you're over here, if you're at this point, right? What does this mean? It means you have maybe 80 people, right? Let's say, I mean, this isn't a perfect graph, but let's say you have 100. Well, let's say, you know what, let's just make this like 50-50. So at this point, and sorry, this graph, I could have drawn it better, but this is right at the middle, right? So over here, we're saying we have 50 people making shoes, and we have 50 people making clothes, right? So the thing is, over here, we're like split, right? We're making both. So if we have 50 people making shoes and 50 people making clothes, right? What is our opportunity cost? Mintsu and Koyun, what do you think our opportunity cost is over here? We have 100 people. We're making 50 make shoes and 50 make clothes, right? So what do you think our opportunity cost is? It's a little tough, but like think about it. See if you can figure it out. I just gave you a hint. I'll help you out. Okay, it's a little tough, right? But our opportunity cost is basically anything, right? So if we were here, right, we would be maybe having 75 people making clothes and let's say 25 people making shoes. So if we're 50-50, right, our opportunity cost is anywhere, right? We could be doing this. We could be putting more of our people to make clothes, right? Or we could be putting all of our people to make clothes. We could be saying all 100 of you, right? Everyone can make, let's say, everyone can spend their time making clothes or shoes. We can say everybody make clothes or everybody make shoes, right? So, you know, or it could go like, so we could just be here. 100 people make shoes. 100 people make clothes, right? And then so if 100 people are making clothes, what is the opportunity cost? Shoes, good, right? Because then what we could also say 100 people, well, you guys could be making shoes, right? So let's say we just started this company in Seoul, right? And we have this idea for really, really cool, both like clothes, right? Clothes and shoes, right? We have a lot of, we're all designers, and we have all these really cool ideas, right? And we have 100 people who we've trained to make all of our ideas, right? But then once we get to, so you might be wondering, right? It seems to make sense that we would want to create both, right? That way it's like safe, right? You know, so it's like if your clothes aren't selling that much, at least your shoes might be popular, right? But what would be, tell me, what would be a situation where we would want to put all of our resources in clothes or shoes? What would be a situation? Why would we want to do that? Anybody, think about it.
Repeat the question again?
So what I'm saying is, it seems like, you know, if you have 100 people, right? And if you make all of them create clothes, or all of them create shoes, right?
We would have to give up the other.
Yeah. But so it seems like that's imbalanced, right? It seems like, well, you know, when you think about it, you're thinking, wouldn't it be safe to have 50 people make clothes and 50 people make shoes, right? It seems safer, right? Because think about it, basically, you know, if our shoes aren't that popular, right? Then if everyone was making shoes, then we're just going to lose a ton of money, right? Because no one's going to buy it. So it would seem safer, right? That, you know, then at least 50% of our people are making clothes, and maybe our clothes are selling pretty well, right? But what would be a situation where it makes sense to have 100% of your people making either shoes or clothes? Think about it.
It makes sense if that makes sense, right? You're trying to say.
So what's the situation? What's the situation? Tell me about a situation where it would make sense. Let's say shoes, right? Let's say that's the example. All of you, think about it.
The same amount of people.
Yeah, so the situation is that we're putting all 100 people in shoes, right?
In shoes.
Why would we do that? Why do you think we would do that?
Because more people they need the shoes rather
Right.
than the clothes.
Right? So let's say we open this company, right? We start this company in Korea, right? And then we see that our shoes are really unique. There's no shoes like ours. But the clothes that we have, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of Korean designers who have a lot of those similar types of clothes, right? Because we think it's going to be harder to sell them, right? Because it makes sense, right? Where are you unique? Why is Apple unique? Because Apple can do things that no one else can. In the same way, when you're creating a product, right? You always have to think about, what can I do that makes me unique? So in shoes, suddenly we're unique. So we might decide that, you know what? Everybody makes shoes. Because no one else has shoes like ours. We can make these and sell them like anything. Or to be safe, we might even say, okay, we'll have 10 people making clothes. We'll have some clothes. Because, you know, we want to slowly keep making clothes as well, right? So maybe because if our shoes become really popular, then people will be like, hey, what else do you guys make? You know, like Uniqlo, right? Uniqlo, like a lot of people started getting them because of heat tech, right? You know, so everyone likes wearing the heat tech underneath, it keeps you warm. But then people just go to Uniqlo and say, hey, let me check your sweaters, let me check your jackets, let me check your scarves, right? So maybe we have 10 people creating these, but in the beginning, maybe we had 90 people, right? Maybe we had 90 people creating shoes. Okay. So one last thing, right? So this makes sense, right? This shows you how you make decisions. This is a very simple picture, right? But what do you think happens when you think about this? This is also kind of easy. So let's say we become very successful as a company, right? And we're able to hire a lot more people because we're making a lot of money, right? So how would you show this on the graph? What do you think would happen in the graph?
Shift to the right.
It would shift to the right. It would expand, right? So maybe it shifts outwards, right? Why? Because now it's simple math, right? Now we have 200 people. Now we have 200 people who could be doing anything, right? So now we could, you know, if we want to go 50-50, we would have 100 people making clothes and 100 people making shoes, right? This is because we made a lot of money and we're hiring people. So even for you can think of this even for a country, but the bigger a company gets, because remember, this is production possibility. How much can you make, right? So the bigger a company gets, the further it shifts out. Keeps getting, you know, like any company that you can think of, the more money that they make, the more factories that they set up, the more people that they hire, their production possibility frontier keeps shifting outwards, right? So there's 200, 300, 500, 500,000, you know? Like Sony in 1945 had 12 people. Now they have like 100,000 people working for them all over the world, right? So their production possibility curve started here, right? And now it's like there, right? Because that's just the number of people that they have. It's the same case with any company that grows, okay? So this is a very simple, just a way of illustrating the concept of opportunity cost, okay? So let's take like a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do the most important economic subject of all, demand and supply, okay?